Good afternoon,
Okay.
everyone. I'm Professor Shweta. On behalf of JSPM's Jayawant Institute of Management Studies, I welcome you all on third day of international webinar on AI and machine learning organized for 3 days. I'm honored to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Kennedy Wangari, data scientist, AI and AI community leader. Mr. Kennedy is a junior product data scientist at Safeboda, Kenya, which is a transport and logistic company focusing on marketing and financial intelligence. He is previously served as junior data scientist at Conflux AI, which provides consulting, training, and building enterprise AI solutions. Sir is passionate about tech communities, innovations, and leveraging AI technologies to make a better and easier tomorrow. And as AI community leader, he is involved with various AI hubs and communities. We are lucky enough to have Mr. Kennedy Wangari as a speaker for today's webinar session. We are also fortunate to have Professor Anil Bhosle sir, Director JSPM Group of Institutes. He look after the AQSE cell for JSPM Group of Institutes. Sir is continuously monitoring and motivating all of us in various academic and extracurricular activities. Now, I request Bhosle sir to share his views about today's seminar. Over to you, Bhosle sir.
Thank you, madam. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
Yeah.
afternoon, sir.
Good- Today's speaker, Mr. Kennedy, sir, I am very happy to see that he is data scientist from the latest and advanced field. Our director, madam, Mrs. Priyanka Singh, our HODs have taken a lot of initiative, Ram madam and Sudarshan sir, and coordinators, Sanjay, Deepak, and Kumar sir, and dear participants and our students. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Hello? Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes, sir, you
Perfect.
are audible.
Okay. Good. Before starting about other things, let me introduce shortly about JSPM Group. The JSPM Group is founded by our Dr. Tanadi Sawant, who is ex-professor from one of the Pune college, and this group started in year 2001, initially with engineering colleges, and later on it went on developing management colleges, pharmacy, and number of schools. And today it is a group of around 26 professional colleges and other schools, in totality 78 institutes in Pune and in Solapur district of Maharashtra state in India. We have main focus on engineering, management and pharmacy colleges, and this college, JSIPM, is one of the leading college from this group. Now, with the short introduction of our group, let me have little talk about today's session. See, though I am non-computer person, non-academic person, I have wide experience in industries from mechanical and mainly from automotive side. I have heard much about AI and machine learning today. See, for placement of our students, whenever I go to different sites and mainly international sites, indeed, and another one is Glassdoor, I see that there is huge opportunity all over the world for this particular specialization of AI and machine learning. And in addition to this, sir specialization of data scientist, I see huge requirement of data scientists all over the world, and I understand millions of shortages are there all over the world. So you people are today really fortunate that today's expert Kennedy sir is a data scientist. Good thing. I am very happy, sir, about you. Then another important thing is for our students' purposes. In India, there is huge requirement of machine learning and AI in India also. So we are happy to share with you that our all computer science and IT students from engineering as well as MCA, and those who are having interest from management science students, those who are having interest in computers, all of them get placed. Our historical record says that almost 90% plus students get placement in their academic period in last year only. So this is what the opportunity all computer science students are having. Our faculties consistently update them through different types of faculty development programs, like this different type of webinars. We have different type of internal sessions for development of our faculty, and like this we go on keeping our faculty, and at the same time through our faculty our students updated continuously. Our all institutes are NAAC accredited, and presently they are in the process of NBA accreditation, which is the apex body for accreditation in India. So our institutes are well developed in India, and students are highly chosen for our institutes. All institutes, including engineering, polytechnics, management, and sciences, all institutes are every time, each year, full of admissions, and some of the institutes are having list of candidates waiting for the admission. So this is our group, well developed, and particularly computer science and IT is further well developed, having huge demand in the industry. So our faculty goes on developing themselves continuously through these programs, and this is how we are developing ourselves. And presently through international webinars, international seminars, international conferences, our faculty is updating, and this is good opportunity for our faculty as well as other participants to improve themselves. Okay, I want to now give more time to you people. I stop here. Thank you very much. Over to you, madam.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much, sir. Now I request Priyanka ma'am to address the audience.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I, Dr. Priyanka Singh, working in the capacity of Director for Jayawant Institute of Management Studies, the pioneer institute under the umbrella of JSPM. I've been working with this organization for last 1.5 decade, and I must tell you, the entire organization is always focused for student-centric programs in as a right step in the right direction. We started with this beginning with a beautiful webinar for 3 days. I must tell you, we got wonderful response from across the globe. People registered from different parts of the world as well as India, and overwhelming response of 1560. We have seen that we are getting good views and good comments from our audience. Every beautiful thing comes to an end. So this webinar is also an end to this 3 days international webinar on AI and machine learning. But I must tell you, you will have a wonderful session today. Last but not the least, I must thank our honorable speaker, Mr. Kennedy, for accepting this invitation. Sir, we are really thankful that you accepted the invitation and you are a part of this crowd. Students, researchers, scientists will gain a lot from you. Happy to hear from you today. Thank you, Bhosle sir. Your participation also adds galore to the event. We are always happy that you are there for us. So, without wasting much of time, let us have a happy learning on this day on AI and machine learning. Over to you, Shweta.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Kennedy sir to handle the session. We all are eager to hear from you about the data science and skills for the machine learning. Over to you, sir.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to the leadership of Jayawant Institute, starting with the director, to MAM, and to the whole leadership team that has facilitated this international webinar session. We've had a very successful first day. The second day was a quite successful one, and now culminating to the third and the final day of this webinar session. I would say I'm really, really honored and grateful to being part of this session. I've learned a lot during the first day of the webinar session, and also yesterday during the second session. And I believe that also today we will be able to share amongst each other. We'll be able to learn from each other. And I'm so grateful, so in a special way, to the whole Jayawant Institute for taking this initiative, despite the tough times that we're in across the globe, that we're able to still continue having these conversations, ensuring that our learners, our students, and everyone is quite engaged, even if you're in different locations, to get to continue learning. So that is quite really deserves utmost appreciation to your team. And I'm also grateful to Professor Kumar Pawar in absentia for inviting me. I'm so grateful for this invitation, and also overally to all our attendees and our audience, creating time out of the schedules and activities to joining in for this session. I'm so grateful and humbled, and I believe that we will be able to share with each other as you've been shared my brief profile. Um, I'll now be sharing my screen, and you'll get to hear what more I have to say. And as you've been told, I'm a junior data scientist. So that basically means that I'm young in the industry, and that resonates with most of us. Maybe those of us who still young, who still in their data science and machine learning learning curve, they're still learning, or we just have those who are young in their early careers in the data world. So I do believe that this session is quite relevant with each and every one of us, and we will be able to share, get to hear from me, and also be able to help answer our questions that we will be able to have. So at this point, I'm going to share my screens. Great. So our today's session will focus heavily on best practices and habits that you need to establish or build up as you navigate upward in your data landscape. And most of these lessons and most of these that I'll be sharing with us, they mainly draw from my data science journey, and they all hail from the mistakes that I did commit, from interviews, from coding and programming mistakes, and they also hail from the wrong outlook that I had when I delved deep into the data world. And I believe that the further I've been able to get to as a junior product data scientist, I can be able to get to share what really worked best for me, and what have I been able to pick as best practices in the industry. And I believe that these lessons will be able to help each one of us as we delve deep, as we navigate further in the data landscape. So as you've been told, my name is Kennedy Wangari. That is my email address. And that is my short profile. As you've been told, I'm quite passionate when it comes to tech communities, actively involved with deep learning.ai as an ambassador to Kenya, and also an AWS Educate Cloud ambassador as a junior data scientist at SafeBorder. And more to this, I'm always passionate when it comes to innovations and tech communities, and you'll get to know more how can we be able to better leverage our communities to be able to accelerate our learning curves for those of us who still learning, to be able to also tap into the opportunities that are there, and how can we be able to even create opportunities. Uh, So for today's session, I have broken it down to three main objectives of this presentation. One will be seeking to explore, as I've said, what habits and best practices do we need to build up as we navigate further? What do we need to be able to unlearn? What are some of the things that we need to crucially and critically focus on? As much as yes, we're focusing for the like for yesterday's session, we had a highly technical session. What more do we need to focus on? What do we need to build up as we navigate to tap into the opportunities that are there? Our second objective will be all more on how do we get to prepare ourselves? How do we get to empower ourselves as data enthusiasts, as researchers, as machine learning enthusiasts with various strategies? And how do we get to navigate once this tough and pandemic COVID time period is over? How will we be able to create opportunities or navigate to be able to tap into the opportunities that are there? And we're saying we're looking at AI as being a highly dynamic and innovative world. And lastly, we'll also be trying to understand how do we empower ourselves with various strategies, and how do we get to acquire these real world data science and machine learning skills. So I'll be sharing with us strategies and ways that have worked for me and have worked for most of my colleagues, and I believe that we'll be able to get to learn a lot. And at this point, that's why I'm so appreciative of Jayawant, because having this share learning environment, this virtual international webinar session is one way of empowering ourselves. So having an overview understanding of what we expect for this particular session, we will now proceed with our presentation for the day. Um, quite excited that for those of us who are tuned in for this session from India, it's recently that we got to realize and appreciate that the government of India, in partnership with NASCOM, launched the National AI Artificial Intelligence Portal of India. And this is a government initiative that's themed on responsible AI for the youth, and it's creating a platform that the young people in India can be able to engage, can be able to accelerate their AI-related innovations and developments, can be able to seek funding, can be able to access educational opportunities. And I would really encourage and uh, send a clarion call to all those who tuned in from India to really take part and utilize and leverage these government initiative to be able to see how can they be able to bridge their skills gap, how can they be able to accelerate the innovations that they have. Because yes, we are upskilling ourselves, but at the end of the day, what really matters is us building solutions. So this is a very good platform for us to accelerate our innovations, to be able to also upskill ourselves and be ready to tap into the opportunities. So and I'm quite excited that even those of us from other countries that we're looking at the initiatives that India is really setting, and we'll be also getting to see what more can we also be able to reap from that initiative, and also as we empower our communities. So as I mentioned, for our first um, aim and objective for the day is getting to understand from my own journey thus far, the mistakes that I committed. What have I been able to pick along the way? What have I been able to learn that has helped me to be able to scale and get to the level that I am at? And you look at the first point, talks of think less about the technical side and focus more on the product side. One key message with this is that no matter how cool the project that you're working on, no matter how good the project or uh, the analysis or the kind of AI project that you're working on, what really matters mostly in the industry and also on academia is mainly on the problem that you're working on. Does it address a business problem? Does it address a societal problem? Does it, with the results that you have, do they seek to address a problem? Do they seek to provide any value? And with this point, I would like to encourage us, I would like to advise is that, yes, it's pretty great. It's quite amazing to focus more on building our technical competencies, getting to learn the various technologies, getting to learn the various libraries and the various tools in data science and machine learning. But as we do this, let us shift our focus to working on projects and working on tasks that create meaningful value to either the businesses, in that they're able to help the businesses generate value, help the businesses to be able to power decision making processes, or more so look at our communities. What are the social problems that are there that we can be able to work on and work on them, so that at the end of the day we're able to work on meaningful solutions and meaningful problems that focus on our businesses and our community. So through that, you're able to learn a lot, and that is a very um, imperative way to be able to gain more traction. So focus more on building business or societal oriented solution with the knowledge that you have in AI. How can your society or a business derive value in you? When you go to a second point, and the second habit that I'm also learning and also cementing is that we should strive to spend more time on improving and cementing our domain understanding and expertise. At this point, you realize that domain understanding and expertise is quite crucial. It's a superpower. This is what helps you in the most critical skill in the AI field, that is a problem solving, because you cannot be able to solve a problem, you cannot be able to tackle a problem if you do not understand, and you don't understand the problem in respect to the domain and the people. And also, when you spend time understanding the domain of your choice, it can maybe be you want to apply AI in healthcare, maybe you want to apply AI in retail marketing, AI in game development, whichever domain it is that you are interested in. Get to understand more to the domain. You can be able to create connections with the people, experts, and the people who are involved in that domain. They'll help you understand the domain. You can be able to spend more time. Later in time, we'll get to look at what are the different ways on how you can improve your deep understanding of the domain. And the crucial and the significance of having a deep understanding of a domain, it's because it helps you, one, be able to understand the various business use cases in that domain. It also helps you to be able to understand and know how do you define problems in that domain. How do you it also helps you get to improve uh, your problem solving capability, because you're able to know how you're going to solve these problems in the right way and in respect to the domain, and in a data driven manner. So I would really encourage us, having I would assume most of us already have a domain that they are specializing in, or they want to apply their AI knowledge. If you're yet to, you're still learning, do pick up a domain that excites and interests you, and we will get to see which are the ways that you can be able to gain knowledge in that domain, so that you are able to implement the technical knowledge that you have into that domain and provide solutions. Going to the third point, it talks of keep a good detailed lab book. It's always very crucial to document your work, document your analysis when you're doing the technical work, when you're now doing all the coding work, the processes, when you're writing up your results. It's always crucial and critical to record everything, because later in time it becomes easier, one, if you're handling multiple tasks, and also if later in time you need to be able to give narrations of how did you arrive at making ABCD decisions. So it's always very crucial when you're doing your technical work, when you're working on your projects, when you're working on documenting your results, always keep that clearly documentation of your work. Um, the next point talks of building up your good communication and storytelling with your data. One thing you will understand is that you can solve the largest problem in this world, but if you cannot be able to communicate the value of your results or the value of your work, or what you've been able to do to the stakeholders or to the people who matter, all that work becomes zero, all that work becomes nothing. So it's quite crucial, it's quite very imperative. It has always been emphasized that as data scientists, as machine learning engineers, we need to improve our power of communication. We need to be able to communicate, we need to be able to understand how do we influence decision making processes, how do we get to influence data-driven culture in our companies, and people to buy in our ideas and our solutions. It's through ensuring that one, you're able to understand and able to storytell with your data to both those who are technical and to those who are not technical, because it's not everyone who is data savvy. You'll find that those who are not data savvy and they would want to understand your solution. How do you convince them? So it's quite imperative that we get to know how to get to improve and be good in communicating with our data. Later in our presentation, as I did mention, one of the objectives is how do we get to acquire these real world skills. So we will be getting to look at different ways on how can we build up our communication and storytelling abilities with data. Again, it's always crucial and very key to implement computer science practices in coding, such as writing clean code. If you're working, let's say, maybe with Python, get to know how do you focus on the PP8 writing standard of the Python code programming, the indentation, also looking at how do we write better code, how do we also focus on commenting of our work. And the reason why we should strive to be good citizens of the code base and implementing these computer science practices is so that it helps you to reduce wasteful time when you're debugging new solutions. You all, for those of us who've built solutions, you really understand and know how painful it is trying to debug a solution when you have a hard and unreadable code. So when you have clean and better code, you're able to easily be able to debug your work. You're also able to handle large code bases, because it's not all the times that you'll be just working on small projects. At times you will be needed to work on complex projects, and these complex projects comes up with complex code bases. So for you to be able to understand and be able to dissect these code bases, it's always easier. And when the code is the code written and the code it's follows the PEP8 standards and the computer practices in coding. And this brings the whole concept of machine learning operation, MLOps, that I would really love us as we continue building our technical competencies, as we continue improving our technical knowledge in machine learning and data science, because there's that aspect of programming. Let us start cultivating that culture of writing clean code and also bringing the whole concept of machine learning operation, MLOps. And this will be quite crucial for us when we move into the data, into the industry. Also, another very crucial and key lesson and habit that I did pick up when I moved to the data to the real world that I'm also still cultivating till to date is that we should always strive to interact and forge those meaningful relations with the business people. Because again, remember we mentioned that we are trying now to implement our knowledge in artificial intelligence, in machine learning, deep learning, to be able to solve business problems. And for us to be able to understand this business problem, we have to really interact with the people who are the business people, so that we are able to clarify the questions that we have. This is where we are always told, ask interesting and valuable business questions, because this helps you to be able to even fine tune and get to know what does this business expect, what are the expectations, what do they want to achieve with data, what kind of problems do they have, how can I be able to solve them with the data that is there. So it's always very crucial when you're working on these problems, and these cuts across not just for business. When you're working, if even if it's for societal problems, get to understand the domain, the people within that context, and work with them to be able to clarify, to always to be able to get that feedback from them and know, are you building the solution the right way, because the solution is for them. So it's always very crucial. And uh, again, I'll not emphasize more on the Pareto principle of 80-20 rule. You understand that in data science, in machine learning, these are projects that don't take forever, they take a time span. So it's always quite crucial as you move up, as you continue deepening your skills as you young in your career, like let's say in my case now, it's quite crucial to start improving to become more efficient, because working faster is quite crucial in the business sector, as unlike in academia. Because for academia, I tend to say that most of the researchers, most of the people in academia, they pick up interesting problems that can span for a good number of years doing research, or a good number of months. But if you have focus to working in the industry, or you're already in the industry, you would agree with me that speed is very crucial in business. So the Pareto principle of 80-20 rule really comes in. And I'll not emphasize much on the habit of reading. You know, the data world is quite a vast world with a lot of information, but we should strive to cultivate that habit of reading. And by this I mean we should strive to spend more time to reading up what are the different ways that you can solve a particular problem. Maybe you're working on a particular project or task for a business, for an organization in your local area, or for an AI challenge, or just for a local organization. And it's good to read different ways, get to look at, are there any similar case studies that have been solved, get to understand them again, look at academic literature, get to understand them, the implementations. Are there any existing projects that are similar to what you're working on? Textbooks, blogs, and all other related resources that you can be able to get. And this helps you to give you a practical approach on how are similar problems solved. And it also helps you to improve your problem solving, because remember we did mention that the most crucial and critical skill in the data world is your problem solving capability. It's not your good knowledge in machine learning, in data science and deep learning. It's how can you be able to think through a problem with the data that we have and come up with a solution. And for us to be able to improve our problem solving, our creativity in how are the different ways that we can solve these problems, is by getting to cultivate that habit of getting to read already existing literature, as I've outlined. And this helps you to build up your creativity and also your problem solving skill set. And this help makes even easier for you to tackle the particular problem, because at times you'll be working with complex projects. Again, it's always crucial to draw a proper plan before you start the heavy lifting work of coding, of collecting data, and all the other phases of data science and machine learning. Know what you need to do, set a proper plan. And by a proper plan, it's because at times in the industry you find that at times projects get to overrun each other. At times you find that when you're starting maybe a project, there are already other projects that are already there. The need for resource planning, the need for the planning of the talent people and the team that you have. So it's always very crucial. Draw out a plan of what does the business expect, what are the requirements, and what do you need to do, and see what can you be able to do before you embark on. Remember again, we didn't mention on the Pareto principle of the 80-20 rule. So these two principles really work well, and they help you to be able to work within the deadlines. And again, another key habit that I personally am also greatly building up is the habit of asking questions as possible. Yes, it's good to ask questions, but don't ask annoying questions. But get to ask questions from those who are experienced, those who are more knowledgeable than you, and talk to everyone in the company. It can be, it's good to talk with the technical team and also to the business people, because many are the times that you will just, let's say you're just starting off as a junior person. This is a challenge that I had, that you just there, you've been taken through by the business team, you've started working on the project, but you just stuck. So it's always good, don't shy off, get to ask the questions, get to know why should I be doing ABCD? Why should I run ABCD analysis? Why should I do ABCD? And the good thing with asking as many questions as you can is because you're able to get that feedback, and this feedback helps you to fine tune what you're working on, you're able to get more ideas, you're able to even get assistance. So don't shy off from asking questions. It's really, really, really crucial and quite important. Get to ask questions from the business people, from the technical people, and this will help you. And again, don't just get to know why are you doing a particular task. And before you run any analysis, any tasks, get to know why you're doing ABCD and all that. If you don't really understand, ask questions, get to know. And next, I would say this is a very hard lesson, but I'm really, really getting to learn, and I would really encourage us to learn to say no, because many other times that we used to just uh, saying no, saying yes, a new framework comes up, you get tempted to start picking it up to get to learn. Um, any project requirements that maybe was out of scope comes up, or any other tasks comes up. It's a habit that I would say learn to say no and stick to what you need to do to achieve the business objectives or the societal objectives for that specific project. And last but not least is always version control your work. And this is very crucial because it helps you create that solid control, solid system to version control. It gives you that ability to be able to roll back to your experiments, to the changes, and gives you a detailed history of what work you did, any analysis that you did, any visualizations that you did. And the significance of this is many other times that you can complete a project, but later in time you would need to reference back to and give narratives of your work. So for either future reproducibility of the projects that you'd worked on, so it's quite crucial that you implement version controls. You can work with GitHub. There's GitLab. There's also other tools that can help you version control your projects and your work. And having tackled the first aim and from the habits that I'm also getting to forge and build up as I navigate further in the field, that I would also love us to implement. You're able to see that there is this funny cartoon that talks of the perfect data scientist, and many are the times that it's rare to find a unicorn, or I would say the perfect data scientist in the data world, because it's quite a challenging task to get to such a level. But those critical skills that and those critical characteristics that makes someone a great data scientist. And if you look at that cartoon, you're able to see that one, as I did emphasize, that you need to have that business understanding, that empathy, that in understanding of the domain that you're involved in, getting to understanding how do you work around the problems in this field, what are the use cases. So and having that a deeper business acumen, it's quite crucial. So as we move up, for those of us interested and those of us young in our careers, it's quite crucial for us to embrace and be able to build up our data understanding. Again, as I did mention, we have to build up our analytical skill set, because we need to know how do we think through the problems. And this is where getting to gain knowledge from use cases, from articles and all other learning materials, and working on technical projects really helps us to improve our analytical capabilities. Again, you have to have the human interest at heart. As we did mention, data science and machine learning is less of deployment of models. It's less of working with Python, R, and all the other libraries and tools that are there, but it's more of applying that knowledge to solving human grand challenges. By that I mean the problems that we as the human beings are facing, either in our societies or in the business sector. So have that human interest at heart, have that empathetical listening, be willing to listen to what are your customers saying, what are your producers saying, what are the people in your communities complaining of, and how can you maybe be able to solve that challenge using data. So also you have to be a creative person, as I did mention, through getting to immerse yourself to learning the various um, uh, resources, learning resources, and that getting to understand how various projects were utilized, operated, and worked on. It helps you improve your creativity and know what better can we improve what we have. So it's good to be a creative person. And again, as I did mention, an open mind, always be willing to listen, always be willing to uh, take up, even if it's the simplest technique, but provided that it works, and embracing that open-minded culture. And I would say those are some of the traits that I'm really building up, and I felt it would be great to share with us as I continue as a product-oriented data scientist. There's also the second category of the data scientist that we call machine learning data scientist. Maybe at the end of the session, we'll talk briefly about it. So with that, we move to our second objective. That is, how can we be able to prepare ourselves during these tough times, and with great appreciation of the initiative that Jayawant Institute has taken to creating this platform. What can we be able to do to navigate and to be able to prepare ourselves for a post-COVID career in the data world? For those of us who are transitioning into the data field, I would really say that the first thing I would say that really worked best for me and would really work for most of us is one, research and get to select those industries, those companies that you're quite interested in, those companies that have the domains that you're interested in. If you've always been interested in transport and mobility sector domain, that is the domain that you've gaining knowledge in, which industries align with that domain, and industries again that you're quite interested, get to shortlist maybe two, three, four, five industries, and then from there, um, again, we did mention that it's quite crucial and it's quite key to start creating those meaningful engagements in your domain, getting to get the domain experts, getting to get the people who are involved in that domain. And with that, also should you're able to hear from them what are the projects that they're working on, what are the problems that their customers are complaining on, what are the possible, because this gives you an understanding of what possible solutions and analytical use cases can you be able to work on. It also gives you a good listing of the problems that they are facing. They might maybe be in predictive analytics, computer vision, natural language processing, reinforcement learning, and then from that, based on the subset of artificial intelligence, or in this case, data science, machine learning that you've picked, I would say, like taking my example, natural language processing, I'll be more focused on, do they have any NLP problems that I would work on? And then once you've been able to select those potential problems that you can work on for those specific companies, proceed now to check out, again, as we did mention, check out, is there any existing data? Are there past projects related to those specific problems or those potential problems? Are there any research papers, academic work that will help you to be able to understand and help you know how can you be able to build up a practical solution or a demo prototype, and seek out to understand, gain the knowledge, and attempt to reproduce those results. Again, as I did mention, build. This is a very crucial and key time to build those relationships with and connections with those people who are involved in that domain. You're interested in transport and mobility sector. You do wish to work. Maybe let's take an example of Uber. Start making connections with the experts and the people involved in that field, because you'll be able, again, as you said, you'll be able to get to learn a lot from them, and this will greatly help you towards working on potential problems and even collaborations in the future, and even for referrals. And again, as we did mention, the crucial and critical skill here that we're trying to build up is all around problem solving. So building these meaningful solution, getting to learn, getting to seek out those problems, is so that you can be able to demonstrate your problem solving capability, and that you can be able to be someone who can derive value. Because at the end of the day, that is the crucial thing that will be able to set you aside. And also, it's also quite good also, if you have an outdated resume, revamp it, update it so that it's focused on the technical projects again that you've worked on for various organizations, for for organizations, maybe for your community, and any other data related experience. Maybe you've done a data science internship, you've had maybe junior role in any data related role. So it's also quite good now during this time to also update your resume. Also, again, the projects that you will be working on, this has always been emphasized. I'll not lay much emphasis on it, but strive to build a strong portfolio of the projects that you've worked on. It's always the golden rule that push them to GitHub, but don't stop at that point. It's always good to document your progress, document the analysis of your projects, document your experiments and projects. You can do these on Medium, LinkedIn. The always significance of the very many significance and importance of documenting your work, because it helps you improve your technical writing skills, and someone is able to understand your problem solving and understanding, because through going through how you approach the problem, you're able to even get feedback. And when it comes to building projects, I would always encourage us to don't just build machine learning models, move beyond that. And again, as we said, we are trying now to cultivate that problem solving mindset of where you don't just build models, because models have no value. And what is of value is a data product. And the data product in this case, it means move beyond just building a model to build a data product that can be able to consume data and derive value. So in this case, I'm talking of move towards building end-to-end machine learning projects. If it's data science, that's quite okay, because mostly you find data science, it's heavily focused on recommendations, uncovering patterns, um, analysis and all that. But for machine learning projects, strive to build an end-to-end projects. There are various tools available online. An opportunity to win prize money amongst other benefits. And it's always good if you can try to blend in maybe taking up a data science hackathon competition and doing an open source project. I'm one fan and one very active open source enthusiast when it comes to data science and machine learning projects. So I would really emphasize this.
Hello, Kennedy, sir. Sorry to interrupt, but I think there was some technical issue. Can you repeat last 3 to 5 minutes?
Yes.
There was a technical problem, I think, for last 3 to 4 minutes. Can you please repeat that content of 3 to
Okay.
Yes,
Where should I go back to from? Which part?
last 3 minutes, sir. Last 3 minutes. Same
Last three
PPT,
minutes.
last 3. Yes,
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
thank you, sir.
Great. I hope I'm audible right now. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now able to hear
Mr. Deepak,
you.
am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible, sir. Perfect. Just last 2 to 3 minutes, sir. Only last 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Um, as we mentioned, having tackled the first aim and objective for the day, we'll briefly just quickly go through to the second objective of this presentation. And as I did mention, it's always quite crucial to um, and for us to be able to conduct some research, do select those industries, those companies that are growing and that you are quite interested to contribute your skills and that align with the domain that you pick. Let's say, like in my case, I've always been all along before I transitioned to the data world, I was focusing on marketing and artificial intelligence. So get to research and select industries and companies that align with the domain that you've been building up your domain understanding. Get to pick about, let's say, two, three, four, five um, two, three, four, five companies that are really growing, and you feel you'd be able to grow and contribute to their operations and work. And at that point, once you've selected your companies, you can proceed now to do deeper research of what kind of projects are they working on, what kind of problems are they working on, what future projects do they have. Get to maybe interact with some of their customers, some of their producers, because this even helps you to be able to understand what potential problems in analytical use cases in the case of data science can you be able to work on. What problems are they already facing that you can be able to solve and in a specific field, let's say in predictive analytics, in computer vision, in natural language processing, and reinforcement learning. You can maybe pick, let's say, two to three problems. Um, and then from there, again, as we did emphasize and mention, that once you've been able to identify and define your projects and the problems that you want to work on, get to seek out, look at, are there any existing materials and resources? Is there any data? Are there past projects? Are there research papers? Are there any resources that are related to that specific domain and similar to the problem that you want to work on? And then you move up to try to understand the knowledge and the information that is there, and attempting to reproduce the results and see what can you be able to build up and improve more. And again, as we did mention, this really helps you to improve the most crucial skill in the data world, that is improving your problem solving skill set. Because when you immersed to different ways of how a certain problem in different industries and various use cases, how they were able to solve it, helps you improve your problem solving skill set, and also improving your creativity, as we've mentioned in our last cartoon, that one of the critical skills that you need to improve on is ensuring that you improve your creativity and problem solving skills. Again, we cannot emphasize more on building up meaningful relationships. This is the best time for us to in that specific area, in that domain that you've always, in that company that you've always been interested in working on. This is the time now to start connecting with the people involved in your field. Let's say maybe you've always been interested to working at Uber. This is the time now to start getting to interact, uh, build relationships with them, get to even bring closer now the domain experts in that area, get to learn from them, get to have the mentorship from them, get to hear the feedback from them, get to hear what kind of problems and what kind of advice would they give you in terms of maybe future problems that you could work on, and how to prepare yourselves for such roles. Because again, we did mention we're all trying to work around different ways how we can prepare for post-COVID career data world. Again, it's always quite good to update our resumes and heavily focused on technical projects that we have worked on, maybe that we've worked on, and also any other data related experience, be it an internship, be it any data role that you've been involved with. But when you're doing this, always focus more on what your contributions were, what
did you improve on for that specific company or for that project? What was your aim? What did you achieve? Focus more on the outcome and the positive outcome of your project. And I hope the voice is okay.
Yes, sir. Voice is clear, no problem, sir.
Deepak?
Yes, sir. Your voice is clear, sir. No problem.
Great. So again, I would say as we move up, the various projects that we have shortlisted and to work on, it's quite crucial for us to build a portfolio of those projects. I would emphasize more on this being the golden rule in the data world, that it's always crucial for us to document and publish our projects on GitHub. And I would really encourage us to always document our project work, our experiments, our analysis, and share the analysis and the report work on Medium, on LinkedIn, because this really helps to communicate more on your approach to problem solving, how you tackle various problems. You're also able to get feedback from those who will be able to read and go through your work. And it also helps you to improve your technical skills. And at this point, I would really say that as we work on these projects, if you're working on an analytical data science project, it's quite okay. But for machine learning projects, I would really encourage us always strive to build an end-to-end project. By that I mean, these machine learning models have no value if at all they're not implemented and in a way that they can be consumed and we can be able to get data coming through. So it's always strive to build an end-to-end solution so that you're able to even quantify your results, because at the end of the day what really matters is, can you be able to demonstrate and results with your projects and your solutions. So strive to build end-to-end projects and publish your work. I'm always one sorry for that. I'm always one advocate of contributing to open source data science and machine learning projects. There are a couple of organizations and platforms that gives you these opportunities, such as Google AI, there is Gen AI, Coding, Google Coding, amongst others. And they give you that opportunity to collaboratively work with others and to contribute to the open source community in data science and machine learning, and helps you to grow holistically. So I would really encourage us, we should strive to be able maybe to take up this time, maybe to even contribute to one or two or one project. That would really be differentiating key. It's also good to take up data science competitions. They help you augment your technical knowledge. You can win competitions. They can give you opportunities for interviews. So it's also another way that we can prepare ourselves during this time, take up a competition, get to learn a lot, get to learn from others, and possibly maybe even win competition. So that's also a very good, crucial way to we can be able to utilize this time period. And last, but also it's quite imperative, as I did mention, that we improve our technical skill set, because we cannot be able to do everything else. That is building solutions and tackling complex business and societal problems if we are not good technically. So it's quite crucial for us to continue improving our technical skill set and expertise in machine learning, in statistical learning, in programming, and also working on the other non-technical skills that you've mentioned, such as building up on your communication, working in your domain, so that you are able to be fully empowered to solve the problems. So don't just focus on building your technical skill, but try to grow holistically, and it will become easier for us to navigate not just post-COVID, but even further in the data landscape. We'll now move to our third aim and objective of this meeting. That is getting to understand how do we get to empower ourselves We've talked of we need to acquire technical knowledge. We've talked of other crucial and key skills, such as domain understanding, such as improving or problem solving. So these are some of the real world data science and machine learning skills. So for this last uh, subset of the presentation, we're trying to look at how do you get to improve, or what are the ways or what are the strategies that you can improve your real world crucial data science skills. And we started by really emphasizing that domain understanding, use case understanding, and problem solving skill set is quite imperative and crucial, as this is what will sail you through, and this is what really communicates of your value to the organizations and also to the businesses. So what are the ways, what are the strategies, the ways that we can build up our domain understanding? One way that we can do this is getting to listen, getting to asking questions, getting to talk, and again, as we've mentioned, emphasized on building relationships with the people who are involved in your area of expertise. If it's AI in healthcare, start getting to attend those meetups, start building those relationships, start taking part in those conversations, start building relationships with them. If it's whichever domain, if let's say it's marketing, get to attend their conferences, get to have mentors. And the good thing with this strategy is that it helps you to be able to receive mentorship. It also helps you to be able to receive feedback. You're able to get guidance from those who are knowledgeable and those who are quite experienced in the field, and it helps you to even build up your knowledge in the field. So that is a quite crucial way to work around that. Also, for those of us who are who are focused on either, I would say, product based companies or service based companies, you need to start utilizing, or there's some products maybe you've never used. Let's say, for example, you'd wish to work as a data scientist at Airbnb, and you've never even experienced or had a first-hand experience of how the whole Airbnb booking of rooms experience, procedure, and all that operations and all that work. So that basically means you need to immerse yourself, get to know what are the various products, what are the services that are involved in that domain, and this helps. This greatly contributes to you understanding what are the various products, what are, as an end user, what is that experience, and this greatly helps you become a better data scientist. I'll give a good example of myself. When I was starting off, there were some products in my first company that I never interacted with before, but I just found myself to having to get to utilize and work with them and get to know how they're consumed at an end user, and now moving to the internal operations of the organization, so that you're able to understand deeply and know how do you leverage your knowledge to be able to provide value to that specific company. So this is quite crucial for service-based and product-based companies. It's also we've really emphasized on the habit of getting to gain knowledge from research papers, and as you've mentioned, this will really help you be able improve your problem-solving skill set. This will help you to be able to have that familiar taste and approach. How are similar problems solved? So this is very crucial for us. Again, we've talked of getting to move beyond and looking at are there any related projects, and many other times you'll not find the repos, but there are a couple of these famous industries use cases, such as Facebook, Airbnb, Uber, and like Amazon, that get to share some of the projects, some of the solutions, and you can be able to learn a lot maybe from them if you're focusing on those domains. So seek out to get to know the knowledge. Are there any other solutions? And again, as we say, this helps you improve your creativity, get to even gain more knowledge. We've also talked of moving beyond that to gaining knowledge to from domain-related blogs, articles, there are those domain-related podcasts, and any other learning resources that is related to your domain that will help you have a deeper understanding and solidify your knowledge in that specific domain. Whichever approach or whichever learning resources, be it ensure that it's quality and it will help you be able to improve your knowledge in that specific domain. Um, Again, another way to be able to improve your knowledge in domain understanding, use cases, and problem solving skill set is you can check out if they are online or any physical domain related um, machine learning groups, maybe in your local area. If it's online, there are a couple of them. There are a couple on Slack, Papers on Code. There's also the famous Lexi Friedman AI paper reading club on Discord. They basically give you an opportunity, one, to learn from others. You're also able to share what you're working on. Gives you an opportunity to share your experiments, get to even people have whom you can collaborate with in future projects. So it's quite crucial to look at any or if there's none in your locality, you can team up with colleagues, maybe working in the same company or working in the same domain. If you're students, you can team up to study academic literature to help each other. And you can also even team up with your mentor and form a reading club with your mentor, and that will help you be able to formalize and have that deep knowledge, understanding. Um, Also, aside from different ways you can be able to improve your knowledge in understanding domain is strive to understand how do you conceptualize, how do you translate the business problems, the societal problems, frame them in a way that you can be able to technically solve them. Get to know the kind of project you're working in. Can it be solved through machine learning that is involving predictions, or can it be solved through doing an analytics project that is more into data science? So get to improve your analytical knowledge. Remember, we mentioned that it's quite crucial for you to improve your analytical capabilities. Get to know if you are listening to a customer or a provider, how you're able to tell that the problems, how you're able to think through and know that this problem can be solved through data, and able to formalize that problem, and be able to know how do you select proper modeling algorithms, the different techniques and the different ways, because this really your analytical knowledge and your understanding helps you to be able to interpret the results and be able to make better decisions at the end of the day, and be able to interpret your solutions well. So it's quite crucial for us to be able to understand how do you, and that's why involving and immersing yourselves in sessions such as reading clubs, open source communities, really gives you that first-hand experience to be able to know how do we work with complex projects, how do we handle business expectations, what does the business expect. And again, we've emphasized on ensuring that you build up your storytelling skills, because it's quite crucial. And as we've mentioned, that if you cannot be able to communicate your value, your work in terms of the business value or in terms of the community, and know how to uh, work with other people, how to team up with other people, then it becomes really hard for you to influence data-driven culture, to influence people implementing your solutions. So it's quite crucial on that. And then we've really talked and emphasized on gaining that right analytical approach, getting to improve our data intuition. We've shared the various ways, and this really helps us when we now influencing and ensuring that our results or our work um, is we're able to get that buy-in from the companies. So it's these are some of the key sessions and the key knowledge and techniques and ways that I would say most of them are never taught in schools. Most of them are never taught in boot camps, and I've had to learn the hard way, and also through the support of my mentors, and through also immersing myself into open source communities. And I would really love us as we continue improving our technical capabilities, as we continue delving deep into the AI field. Like yesterday, we had a very good session on reinforcement learning. Let us now start thinking more with that knowledge gained, and with the more knowledge that we're gaining as we delve deeper, how can we be able to be one, to be a rare combination of being visible with the work that we've done in terms of the value that we're able to um, create for with the past experience that we've done, let's say maybe on the projects that we've worked on, and also focus more on working on improving our problem solving skill set, because at the end of the day, as we've seen, that is the crucial skill, and for us also to be able to improve on this, we'll need to pick up a domain and become better at it with time. And at the end of the day, let us strive to be data professionals who can derive value with data and be able to make our lives easier, improve our way of doing things, and be people who have human interest at heart. And with that said, I would really like to open the session. And I hope that we'll be able to have an interactive session. Feel free to ask any question. As I did mention, I'm a young data professional, just young in the industry, and I would say this session is quite relevant with us, bearing the fact that I've had a taste of the corporate world, and I believe most of us are either in the process of transitioning to the corporate world or into academia, or are already young in their careers, and maybe you'd have a couple of questions that you would wish to ask, or maybe seek clarification on something. So at this point, I would like to open the floor to get to hear questions, and I hope that at the end of as we get to wrap up this session, we will all have gained that sense of purpose and direction to be able to continue innovating, to continue building solutions, and to continue becoming better in our craft and helping our communities and our business.
Hello, sir. Thank you for your nice session. Now we can open the floor for question answer session. I request all participants, they can ask questions. They can use chat box to ask questions. Okay. Avani is saying thank you organizers for such a valuable series of sessions. Sir, we have a question. Okay. We have a question from Somshekhar Thalange. Sir, it is said that future is about AI and ML, but how does it differ from experience-based learning and practical implementation?
Great. That's quite a great and interesting question. I would say that AI, artificial intelligence, has been there for quite some time, since 1970s, but it's until now that we're getting to see the real application of AI into the various industries in the various sectors. And we've had conversations that are we at the peak of AI, or what more should we expect? And if you look at the hype around artificial intelligence, vis-a-vis the solutions that are already existing, we get to realize that the future of artificial intelligence is really quite promising, because again, as we mentioned, we have very many problems in our communities that can be solved in a data-driven way, but we've not been able to cultivate and build up professionals who can now be able to use now the huge computation power and the information and the knowledge that we have to build the solution. So I would say that the future of AI is quite promising, and if improve our problem solving and take initiatives of like the one that India has with the National Intel AI portal, we'll be able to accelerate our innovations. And looking at it, how it differs from experience-based learning and practical implementation. I would say probably have not been in a good position to give a good difference between the two. But siding on the side of AI, I would really say that as much as most of that AI, we should seek to ensure that we get ourselves better, in artificial intelligence, but more focused on the business side and more into the various our communities.
Sir, we have one more question. That's Akhilesh. Is the data science helpful for civil engineering?
Great. Data science is, we're getting to see that data science is quite vital in across all the domains. And again, as I did mention, the best way now here for you to really understand how you can apply data science knowledge and even get insights on potential data science use cases in the civil engineering domain would be one, as we've mentioned, trying to bring close to, and having the mentors or getting to understand the domain better, because when you understand the domain, the people involved, you're able to know the kind of problems that they're facing, the kind of challenges they're facing, and that helps you to be able now to start thinking in a data driven way and ask yourself, how can you use the data? Because again, we're talking of data is available everywhere. How can we use the data in the civil engineering domain to provide data driven solutions? So it's quite vital and it's quite applicable in almost every domain.
Okay, but we'll take one more question that is from Hemant Panchal. Just one second. Uh, okay. So we have a question from Pranjal Kumar Sahu. What are the basic things or knowledge we need to know if we to do something in combining AI with medicine field?
I would take two approaches to that question. The first approach would be someone who's educated or who hails from a medical background, who's gained the practical knowledge in medicine. And I would also take a second approach of someone who hails from a different domain, let's say maybe economics, let's say from any other domain, who's gained knowledge in artificial intelligence and wants to apply into the medical domain. It's quite easier for the first person, as I did mention, the one who's had that domain knowledge, who's been trained and practiced medicine, because again, it becomes easier for them to just learn artificial intelligence and be able to implement the knowledge they've gained in their domain. For the other but for the other scholar, it requires them to really work hand in hand with the domain expert, because you only have the implementation, and we always um, take up AI as a tool. So you only have the knowledge in the tool of work. So for you to be able to build a solution in the medicine domain, you need to understand the domain, or much better work with the domain experts. And the basic things that you always need to understand is, for both, is that if you're starting off machine learning, data science, there are those requisite skill sets that you need to understand. That is getting to learn a bit of calculus, a bit of linear algebra and optimization, statistics, that is purely on mathematics for machine learning. This helps you to build intuitions on algorithms and preparing you for other advanced topics. You'd also need to take up beginner courses in machine learning and data science. But so that is the basic knowledge you need, at least to lay you a strong foundation, so that you can start off from there. Now, if you are hailing from the um, medical domain, it becomes easier now for you to start applying the knowledge. If you're just from another domain, it now requires you to start getting to familiarize yourself with the AI, with the medicine domain, and also getting to work close with domain experts.
So next question is from Pavan Higwe. How is machine learning related to artificial intelligence?
Great. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the large. If I was able to showcase, I would have shown a Venn diagram. By that I mean, artificial intelligence is the large bracket, is the large family that involves building of intelligent and smart solutions that mimic human behavior and are data driven. And you find that there are three confusing terms. That is, what is the difference between artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, and big data. So all these other terms, that is big data, machine learning, and data science, they all fall within their subsets of artificial intelligence. So once you've understood that artificial intelligence is the implementation, is the where we're building intelligence applications, smart and intelligent applications that are data driven, we ask ourselves, what is data science? As we did mention during the presentation, is that data science is heavily focused on analytics, getting to derive patterns, making recommendations and insights with data. When we look at machine learning, is the question has been asked. Machine learning is more focused on how can we use the data that we have, not to make analytical, to be able to get insights, but how can we be able to use the data that we have of the past and of the current to make future predictions. More of how can we make predictions of what will happen in the future. So you get to find that, and all these techniques, even big data, they all leverage data. So they all fall under the whole umbrella of artificial intelligence.
Just a second, sir. I will take next question. Data science courses are very expensive. Where to learn it for free? This is from Sonali Pankede.
Great. There are a couple of good free data science and machine learning resources that I would recommend to us. Most of the data camps and courses are quite pricey, but if you go to YouTube, we have the Stanford courses on natural language processing, introduction to deep learning, computer vision. They are free, but very informative and highly curated courses from Stanford. They're also for machine learning. We also have courses from. We also have courses like Fast AI and other courses. For data science, um, I would really encourage us, once you get the basics, and also you can look at free courses from Coursera at EDX, where you can get um, financial aid, or you can even be able to pay their low cost courses. Once you get your basics and your fundamentals right, it becomes easy, as you mentioned, to build up and start working on various problems as you move up. So I would say Coursera offers a good chunk of courses. Stanford, Fast AI, and those are quality courses that I would recommend.
One more question, sir, from Utkarsha. Is the data science helpful for electrical engineering?
As Ali mentioned, data science, machine learning, and all these um, technologies that are disrupting are really quite crucial and applicable in every field. So it requires us to start now thinking through the data and also the various domains. How can we use the data that we have in electrical engineering domain, in medicine, in any domain, to be able to address the problems and the challenges that are there. So it requires us, as we did mention, it's our thoughtful process, it's our problem solving skill set that will really set us aside. And again, data science can be applicable in every field, because each and every sector we are generating data day in, day out, every second, every minute. So it's all upon us to think, how can we use this data to be able to improve our processes, how we do our activities and operations. Yes.
So we have one more interesting question from Someshwar. Sir, it was said that evolution of computers will kill jobs. Will it be same in near future once AI or machine learning will be in place practically?
I hope you can hear me.
I think we have covered that question. Okay,
Can you hear me?
just a second, sir. Okay, one more question, sir, from Abhijit. So, what kind of knowledge need most to make a career in AI and machine learning?
Great. The knowledge that I would say it's quite vital and crucial is one, have a good understanding of your statistical knowledge. also a good understanding of machine learning algorithms, and how to be able to also think around the different data science questions, and how to improve ourselves to be analytical. And again, as we mentioned, improving your non-technical skills is quite crucial. That is focusing on a domain, improving your knowledge in that specific domain, and also improving your communication skills and how you communicate and storytell through your data, and how you're able now to deploy and productionize your solutions. Those are critical knowledge that would be crucial for someone who is wants to navigate further in the landscape.
We'll take one more question, sir. I think last question. What are the major difference between ML and DL? Kavi Priya, yes.
Great. The main difference emanates from um, the implementation of the architectures, in that you find that machine learning heavily builds up um, the algorithms more in statistical techniques. That's why you always find that it's quite crucial for us to understand statistics, because this helps us to build in our intuition in the various algorithms. So most of the machine learning algorithms build up from statistical techniques. The deep learning techniques, looking from an architecture point of view, it heavily focuses on the neural network architecture. If you look from the point of um, computation, deep learning tasks and deep learning tasks are quite resource extensive. They requires you maybe to get GPUs to be able to even do a meaningful deep learning project. If you look at for machine learning tasks, you can work on them even locally on your machine, train your models. If you look at from the perspective of accuracy, deep learning is really doing quite great. That's why there's so much hype, there's so much implementation, and there's so much dive towards it, because it's getting to give us better results and better accuracies. If you go deep and look in terms of um, working with various techniques such as feature extraction, feature generation, deep learning is really quite great. But again, we have to, anytime we're working with a problem, I would really encourage us, don't always think once you've defined that your problem is will be solved through machine learning, don't always be quick to just jump to deep learning. Think around then a number of factors that we need to consider. Like I've mentioned, deep learning is quite resource extensive. It's There's also the aspect of black boxes. So we need to put into consideration a lot of factors, so that we don't just pick up any problem and be like, oh, this problem can only be solved through um, deep learning. It's always great to implement for machine learning projects the simple and parsimonious models that you can be able to interpret, models that you can be able to uh, debug and improve on them.
Thank you, sir. Now we have Shweta ma'am, director ma'am with us.
Thank you, Kennedy sir, for the excellent coverage of the best practices and habits of data scientists, tips to empower the post-COVID career, and various ways to acquire data science and machine learning skills. And I'm sure, sir, that our participants will implement the perfect data scientist qualities like being open minded, creative, and analytical. So, thank you very much, sir, for your informative session. And we have received so many feedback from our audience that the session is very informative and very interesting. So, thank you very much, sir. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. We are really thankful for the session. You have really taken out your valuable time, and you have put in lots of efforts. You have touched all the aspects which are needed to become expert in AI and ML. So something which every person can learn from today's session. Thank you so much once again on behalf of entire JSPM fraternity, JIMS. Personally, I, Dr. Priyanka Singh, thank you. Over to you, Shweta.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Now we have come to the end of our 3 days international webinar on AI and machine learning. I, Professor Shweta, head of the MCA department from Jayawant Institute of Management Studies, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to honorable guest speakers of our webinar, Mr. Professor Dr. Utku Khose for his explanation of AI and machine learning with current and future state, Mr. Subodh Zada for giving an excellent demonstration of AWS deep pressure and reinforcement learning, and Mr. Kennedy for the excellent coverage of best practices and habits of data scientists. I would like to thank Dr. TJ Savan, Founder Secretary of JSPM, Dr. Ravi Joshi and Mr. Anil Bhosle sir, Director JSPM, and a special thank to our director Dr. Priyanka Singh for continuous guidance and the support. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Professor Deepak Pore, Professor Sanjay Dandele, and Professor Deepak Pandita for their enormous cooperation in organization of this webinar. I would also like to extend a special thank to Mr. Kumar Pawar, Training and Placement Officer of JIMS, for inspiring all of us in organizing this international webinar.